friends, it's the Stitches again, and today we're going to talk about the 3 different bunny logos that are used to label cruelty-free cosmetics. If you've been keeping up with my latest videos, you will probably know that I made the commitment this year to go cruelty-free, and I've been doing a lot of research and I found out some interesting things. So today we're going to talk about how some cruelty-free cosmetics are labeled, and how they get their labels and what those labels mean, and how you should be interpreting them when you're out purchasing makeup or any other cosmetics. So for the purposes of this video, I have some visual aids. These are the 3 logos that we'll be talking about today, and some of them are better than others, some of them mean quite a bit, and some of them don't. So let's just hop right in. Hop. They're bunnies. So first we're gonna talk about this bad boy. This is probably the most common cruelty-free label. This is on the majority of cruelty-free products. You'll probably be most familiar with this one. It probably looks the most familiar to you. It's on quite a bit of stuff. So this is the Caring Consumer logo. That's what this is called. And it is USA based and verified by PETA. And if you know a bit about PETA, you probably know that they're honestly not that trustworthy. So this one actually is one of the least reputable cruelty-free labels. So what this technically means contractually: the company and their ingredient suppliers do not conduct, commission, or pay for any tests on animals for ingredients, formulations, or finished products. Basically, that means you can't pay for it, you can't willingly ask for it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's never happened. Companies have to pay to use this label and any other, so like the company has to come forward and ask for this label to be put on their stuff. Like PETA doesn't go around asking people if they want the label. The majority of the brands that have this are reputable. They're just using it because it's easily recognizable, but it also is least trustworthy. It also does not have any protections for vegan products. If you are vegan, looking for this label isn't necessarily going to help you because they allow animal products, they just don't allow animal testing. But there is no verification process to get this label. So that means that the relevancy and meaning of this logo depends on, quote, depends on the honesty and accuracy of written statements. So a company can easily lie to get this label because PETA doesn't verify it. They don't conduct any audits. And once you get this label, they don't follow up. They don't check on it later. So they could have been cruelty-free when they applied for this and make the switch to not be cruelty-free and then continue to keep this on their products. When you see this on packaging, it's a good indication that it is probably cruelty-free, but there's always that chance that it might not be. This is given usually like a 3 out of 5 stars on like authenticity and reliability. If you have products with this label on it, don't freak out. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're cruel products. It just means that you might want to look into them a little bit more and just keep an eye on them from time to time. So next up we're going to talk about the CCF Rabbit, which is what this one is called. So this is actually an Australia-based label. It is verified by Choose Cruelty Free, sometimes called CCF for short, which is why it's called the CCF Rabbit. Basically, this label means contractually, none of its products and ingredients have ever been tested on animals by the company, by anyone on its behalf, by its suppliers, or anyone on their behalf, and must not contain any ingredients derived specifically from killing an animal or provided as a byproduct from killed animals. I'm gonna say right now that this is probably one of the most extensive cruelty-free labels. This means that no ingredient can be tested on animals at any point in the process. And CCF will also not accredit any company unless all of its parent and subsidiaries are also accredited. So even though, say, Too Faced Cosmetics claims to be cruelty-free, they would not be able to get this accreditation because they're owned by Estee Lauder, which tests on animals. And if a parent company is cruelty-free, but they take on a smaller company that tests on animals, none of their products of any of the companies that they own would be able to get this label, because every connected owned brand needs to be cruelty-free in order for this to be put on it. This also means that all of the products that this is on are also, at the very least, vegetarian. It can have an animal product in it, say honey or beeswax, but it can't be a product that can only be gained through killing an animal. The only downfall of this label is that it doesn't really have a solid audit system. They don't keep a ton, they don't keep a super close eye on their companies, but they do re-accredit regularly to keep up with the criteria. So this label does expire after a certain point, which is better than the last label, but also not necessarily ideal. So our third and final label is the Leaping Bunny, which is considered the golden standard. So while the PETA bunny, the Caring Consumer logo, has sort of a 3-star rating, the CCF Rabbit typically is given 3.5 to 4. This is usually given 4.5 to 5, just sort of depending on where you're looking. It's verified by Leaping Bunny, which is somehow connected to Cruelty Free International. So this is an internationally accredited company. And contractually, this label means that the company and their ingredient suppliers do not conduct or commission animal testing of their products. So it's basically sort of the same type of deal. It's not quite as extensive in wording as the CCF Rabbit, but it's basically the same thing. There are probably a couple loopholes somewhere, but it wouldn't be anything that the cosmetic company would be able to really monitor. So as far as the cosmetic companies are aware, they would not be testing on animals if they have this. So the companies don't have to re-accredit, they don't have to go back through the system every 3 years, but they are audited every 3 years, which is what makes this label the most sought after, the most ideal, the golden standard, so to speak, because they actually send people out to check on this stuff. They re-inspect, they actually check your records and make sure that you are, in fact, what you claim to be in your cruelty-free statements. Unfortunately, for this label, parent companies don't matter as much. Companies that are owned by companies that test on animals can still get this one, which is why some people prefer the CCF Rabbit, even though this is considered the gold standard, because, say, a company like Too Faced would be able to get this label when they wouldn't be able to get the CCF label. So if a parent company matters to you, then maybe rely more on the CCF. But if parent companies don't matter as much to you, the Leaping Bunny is something to look out for. The only real downfall of this one is, again, not something that matters to everybody, but this has no protection for vegan or vegetarian products. This only covers animal testing. It doesn't cover whether or not a product is vegan. I'm personally not vegan, but if you are, then don't rely on this or the PETA Rabbit, because they have no indication of whether or not there are animal products inside of it. To wrap up, I want to state that all of these labels can be faked. Any cruelty-free label on packaging can be easily just stolen off of the internet, slapped onto the graphic design, and printed. And there's nothing legally that anybody can really do about that. So before actually purchasing products, I do recommend Googling. You can always type in, is X product cruelty-free, and usually Google will spit out at the top of the page whether or not it or a parent company tests on animals. So it really isn't hard to figure out if a brand is cruelty-free or not. You just have to look specifically for that information. But yeah, I just wanted to share with you some knowledge that I picked up about these labels, because, you know, everybody sees them all the time, but like, does anybody really know the difference between them? Like, I feel like this is something that I never would have known unless I actively sought out that information. So if you are also looking to go cruelty-free, then hopefully this helped you. If you have any questions about this, if you felt like I glossed over something and you want more information about it, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I typically get around to answering everybody. And I hope that everybody has a good day, and I hope that everybody, you know, considers whether or not their products are tested on animals, and I will see you all next time. Bye!